So we're kind of at the point to say previously on, an episode coming up that says previously on Star Trek Reliant, and we see the scenes from the season 1 finale of Reliant being damaged terribly, of the Orion. The Orion warbarge dreadnought exploding. We see, maybe before that, like the scenes of Oakley, placing the explosives and stuff. And what we have essentially is, the Reliant is damaged, and eventually all of those scenes fall to a bunch of stars, so that it just sits on a star field as whatever our new season 2 opening cinematic is going to look like, right? And plays then over those stars, and after that opening cinematic, it would, and during that opening cinematic, it would all of the people that are going to be in the episode. Captain Marcus Graves, played by Duncan Idaho.
Our captain is a strong silent type.
Is the strong silent type, and that voice that you just heard is the ship's pilot and a science officer in the biosciences and life sciences, Kara Junrani.
Heyo.
Our ship's doctor, who can be a wonderful kind of how would I say, like, you're I don't want to use the word from the other franchise, but you're a Lando type, and it's awesome. I love the way you describe yourself. It's our friend Nick who plays Dr. Eli O'Connor.
I am suave as all hell.
Suave. We have our technical expert and expert on the game. Well, not really we have Baz, who is an old Foundry author like me, who likes telling stories. And, he plays Rick Tier, the chief engineer.
Greetings all. I suppose I am a technical officer, since I'm sort of in charge of recording the episode, in charge of making sure the game rules are understood, and I am the in-universe chief engineer, so it pretty much covers everything. So that's pretty right.
And we have and we have our second technical engineer and streaming expert, the grumpy old Nord, who plays Victor Waitley, very heavily telepathic counselor on board the ship.
Greetings and salutations. The council in, and sessions shall be resumed as mandatory. Don't mind the screaming in the back.
We also tonight have with us our friend Theta, who provides the actions in our chat for the character of Oakley, who is an exocomp that is gaining sentience, and has twice now been part of the solution to some storyline in exocomp, saving the day, which I think is awesome. And finally, I can see that our captain's voice box has started to work again. Duncan Idaho again plays Captain Marcus Graves.
I'm indeed the strong and silent type, and I can also sing
with a tardigrade's voice.
True, you can do tardigrade's voice. So of course, during the intro, we see all of the characters' names, and the camera pans down from that starlit background of a sky. So it's gone from the space above the planet Lampada, where it all began, and eventually, as that just fades to stars, the intro begins, and then the camera pans down, and we are now in Yosemite National Park on Earth. Big trees, beautiful camping spots, incredible vistas to look through, and I'm not sure they're doing it in chat, but I'll leave it up to them. What you have is a small collection of the some of the Reliance senior staff. You are carrying with you camping equipment, and Captain Graves, you have a big that you have to. Basically, you need to put your stamp of approval on this as captain of the ship. You have to put your stamp of approval on this list of transfers, both as Reliant will be out of commission for a little bit. Some of your officers are being reassigned, and new officers are being reassigned to meet at Starbase Epsilon 10. Most of them are junior officers, but you are losing 3. Let me make sure here. That's 1. That's 2. You are losing 3 senior staff members. None of them are. Let's see. Would any of them be in this? No, none of them would be on this camping trip. That's all I can tell you. That in addition to junior officers, there will be 3 senior officers being reassigned. Those being your chief tactical officer, Larissa, is being reassigned. Your doctor, part of the senior staff, not Dr. O'Connor, your Borg expert, Dr. 3, is being sent back to the Daystrom Institute, and the final 1, 2, where's the third? I know there were 3. Oh, Chief. Chief is being reassigned, and he is being assigned to one of the new Odyssey-class starships. He's very happy about the promotion, by the way. So three characters.
Well, that's nice.
Yep.
So I missed the first one. So we've got 3. So we've got 3. The Chief. Who else?
Dr. 3, and Larissa, all being reassigned.
Ah, okay. Well, definitely losing Larissa is going to be a big blow, and the Chief as well. So it's kind of like those are, for what Graves does on the bridge, very perennial roles. People he sees basically every day. So that's going to have the biggest hit. And then he's going to feel guilty about not minding losing 3 that much. Really qualified, helped them out a lot, but at the same time, they've never quite seen eye to eye on some things. So it's going to be like, one I understand. He most understands her moving on as well, because we're not doing that much with the Borg, so her talents need to be applied elsewhere.
I was about to say,
so that's the one.
It might give you a little bit of a chance to breathe too, because it's a guarantee you're not going up against, or you're not being assigned to go up against anytime soon if they're taking her off of your ship.
So it's kind of like the most natural relief and leaving, and feels best about that, but he still kind of feels guilty about that. And just trying to assume
it's her going home.
Role. Basically. So it's just like
home. So
so he's thinking about this, but also thinking about, okay, I've got a big list to go through for potential candidates. Who do I pick? And he's starting to feel a bit like, well, it's like, it's kind of like, is this why Jordan Cole went out to the wilderness when we picked her up the first time? It's just the best place to get this kind of work done. And he's kind of thinking about that, while at the same time, like, screw that, I'm also wanting to have a vacation.
But it's also roll what the stat names are. Roll an insight and command roll, which for Marcus is 12. Just rolling in general, it'll have an effect if it fails.
1
success. That is not a bad thing. 1 success. It might not be that this is the best place to get the work done. It might be that this is the best place to do it with a clean.
Yeah.
So
maybe
all
not
this,
even do the work, to think about it while you're out here.
All this is happening. All these thoughts going through Marcus's head, and slowly the camera pans back to Kara, who now has the left sleeve of her shirt pinned up and is missing the entirety of her left arm and part of her left shoulder. She's looking rather upset, and she just whines, Are we there yet?
I love it.
And right behind her is another Ibby wearing kind of an over-heavy backpack, just wanting to make sure that enough is, being carried for her and her roommates. So she says,
Awesome.
We're almost there, Kara. Just don't worry. I think the campsite's ahead. I'll check them out. Oh, we still have a little way to go, but it'll pass like no time.
And just even that little bit further behind, there's Rick here carrying comparatively comically large amount. Just sort of, it'll be another 15 minutes ahead. We're almost there.
Kara looks back.
I love the idea that you have, just real quick, I love the idea that Rick has like a tricorder out and he's like, we are almost there. Just awesome.
What do you have in there, Rick?
Well, this is a wilderness environment. It is better to be prepared and have everything ready to go and not need it than to need it and not have it.
I mean, I guess I can't argue, but you also have to carry all the things that you may not need.
It is a bit of a troublesome, but I can manage.
Would that we were all blessed with muscles like you.
That we were.
And Rick doesn't respond. Just silently nods as they continue trudging forward.
So Marcus is kind of leading the way. Right now he's dressed in a bit of casual. So he's just gotten like an open button up, like light tan button up shirt, black t-shirt, black casual pants and boots on, and he's walking along, kind of is trying to feel just at home, with nature. Except he's never been in an environment like this. So he's also feeling a little bit nervous as well. Like, this is a very different type of environment from city life and everything he's done since survival training. So he's kind of still got a little bit of that nervous twitch to him, and where his eyes are moving, like when there's various noises about.
Hey, Setsa, perhaps you should remind your Vathiathi that he's only going to encounter wolves here, not Klingons.
Wolves are very, well, not necessarily tame, Marcus, but you really don't need to worry about them too much. They're probably not going to attack us.
Which doesn't really help Marcus.
It's awesome.
Did anybody else bring a phaser? I brought a phaser. We can stun them.
I brought marshmallow makers, and that's just about it.
Can I do a survival check to see if I think that wolves might? I mean, I don't think they would if we set up
In
like
the
a proper
area?
camp.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can
What would
see
that
if you
be?
think there might be wolves.
Sounds like reason science or insight science because it's biology.
Yeah.
Let's do. I think. Would my survival focus apply?
I would say so. This is definitely survival. Sorry to step on you, hippie.
Yeah. I'll go with reason
Totally,
science if
I
that's...
agree. I don't feel stepped on, so you're good.
I'll go with reason science if that's good for you, Hippie.
Sounds good to me.
It's only a extra one, but yeah, that's wrong. It's 2 successes.
And no complications.
Yeah, I totally ordered everything. So
You know for a fact that there are wolves in the area. They are not, however, going to be a problem unless, like, if you decide to go where the wolves are and poke them with sticks, they might become a problem. If you don't go poke the wolves with sticks, you're going to be pretty good. You're going to be okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Unless, so
they live here, sure, but they're not going to be a problem.
Unless we go, what's a human phrase, poking the bear, or in this case the wolf, we should be fine. They don't generally interact or other things unless they're sort of forced into it.
Well, I hear you, Lieutenant. Just, I don't know. Getting into the spirit of things, you could say. So Marcus is there walking along, and he sees where they've sort of marked out a campsite, somewhere that's, it's off the beaten path, but at the same time, it's a sort of campsite that people have used before. Other Starfleet officers coming through here that Marcus picked out as a sort of like, here's our like campsites next to a clean river, really picturesque. So they kind of see a point where the trail widens out into this bit of the forest where they see, this lush, forested coniferous landscape, rolling water next to them with some large rock formations by it. And he's like, well, I guess this is where we set up.
Kara adjusts the satchel. She can't wear a backpack due to missing a shoulder. She looks around and says, I'd applaud, but, well,
The dirt is quite wonderful here.
And Marcus just sort of has this, like, kind of like a sort of grinning and nodding, and he starts, like, setting down his stuff, his large pack and his tent, and sort of sets to work on that basic campsite preparation of, well, got to figure out how the poles go, how the ropes go, and he's just sort of starts busying himself with this, trying to get into the spirit and just start singing, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
Kara, meanwhile, is just saying, be glad you brought the ecologist. If it was me, I'd have to talk about how lovely the poop is around here.
We're not there yet.
I just love their silence after.
So Rick doesn't sing along, and he just starts working on getting the fire sorted first, and then once he's sort of done that usual kind of teepee kind of wood structure, he then starts working on his own.
Yeah, and Marcus just awkwardly trails off from that, and he gets his tent set up. Setsa is helping Kara with her preparations, just setting down the bags, the snacks, the sort of the portable like water filtration units, the waste disposal setup they've got, and after a while, just sort of looks around and is like,
did anyone bring a tent for me?
I thought that was the tent you were carrying.
No, this was yours because you couldn't carry much. So,
Rick pipes up, don't worry, an extra tent is one of the things that I prepared.
Aw, thanks, Rick.
Yeah, and she sets to work, assembling that up. And
Meanwhile,
then Marcus also, at this...
Kara looks just slightly downhearted and casts a look at Rick.
Oh no, the tent has just blown into the river. Yeah. So everyone's kind of got their stuff set up, and Marcus has, he's got a little folding chair. He sets that up, kind of sits back and just says, well, I don't want to talk about work, but I might have to talk about work. So you guys have heard about some of the crew transfers, right?
I heard there was going to be transfers, Kara says, while...
We've heard about some of the crew transfers, right? And the camera pans up to the stars. And we see this... What color is your racing ship, Nick?
I was still trying to figure this stuff out, so I'm still trying to think of a name to him. So.
Right, so the camera pans back down.
Sorry.
So you've heard about the crew transfers, right?
I'm sorry.
That's awesome. So the camera pans back down. You've heard about the crew transfers, right? I heard there were going to be some. And that's where you pick up.
I suspect we might have lost Marcus to go check on something since he thought we were going to be busy for a while. Shall we pan the camera back up? Hippie, you're muted.
We can cut this part out.
This is already, I just posted the link to the doc. I haven't been changing all of the colors yet, and I haven't moved everyone yet, but the crew manifest is already quite different than it was. You will note a new person at the Chief Operations Console, who is now a Lieutenant Junior grade and no longer an ensign.
Oh, did we actually come back to the campsite?
Yeah, we had to because Nick doesn't know the name of doesn't know the name of the ship yet.
I actually made
a
joke about that. I said that you had probably left, and I was like, and we pan back up.
Yeah, it's a very funny part of the episode. I think.
I had to run. I had to run to get to do a bio break real quick. So sorry about
Nice.
that.
I was just telling people I've already linked to I've deleted people, I've added people, or I've added new positions for some people. I'm really bad at like computer stuff. So like one line now is like operations like mustard all the way out to the end, and
oh yeah, I got that covered.
Right on. But yeah, I just moved some things around and was like, okay, this is where people sit now. You guys have a very classic 8-person command crew. It's pretty the one that when I say 8-person command crew, I mean the one that is like the 7 or 8-person command crew that you see on Star Trek: The Next Generation. But
so I guess Jordan is taking over for Chief.
Yeah, that's my thought. He's like, because the first season he's kind of like the Geordie of the show. He's the guy who sits there in like the red, but in this case, he sat there in like the red uniform all season. We see him do some like piloty stuff, and then come into the second season, he's in a mustard operations color. Actually, you guys are all going to be switched to the Odyssey uniforms when you go back. So,
well, I believe that technically does make Oakley next in line to fly the ship. Then
he would be Oakley, unless Oakley chooses his programming to be something different. He'll probably be assigned an auxiliary pilot position on the bridge. Yeah, unless he chooses Oakley, security, in which case he'll become a security officer.
It's all up to you, Oakley. I've only got one arm for the time being, and Jordan apparently got promoted.
Also, to me, it one thing it does is it brings our main cast and secondary cast down to a much more manageable number, so that we get to know them all instead of just like little bits of them. So that's one reason to I mean, there are still junior officers on your ship that can change week to week depending on the officer that plays them, but the main crew that we're focusing on becomes more manageable, and we get to see more about them, and some who were vaguely interesting in season 1 now have a chance to become more interesting, like Moon.
So does that make Janik our tactical officer?
Janik would still be a junior tactical officer. It would make Bryce into the Worf of your show. He would probably run both the tactical station and be like a big old,
Sounds good. So, Marcus is conveying all this information, saying we've got our command crew is going to be shrinking down a little bit, and we're bringing on a bunch of cadets to fill positions on the ship on the sort of more junior level. And he sort of like waggles the data pad and it's like, yep, and that's something I got to be going through, searching, looking through Academy records, looking up recommendations and trying to find a good system for how to do this.
You're not necessarily only being assigned cadets, because in addition to the orders that one thing that you have like kind of tucked away in your belt, I guess is one way to say it, you've got tucked away that you can do right now. You can let everyone know whenever and however you want that they have earned. Entire crew of the Reliant has earned promotions, and that's why so many are being transferred.
I want to say that Marcus has probably figured that as like he wants to have that as a moment, and this is not the moment. So he's going to save that in his back pocket.
Right. That's why I wanted to mention that you do have that in your kit, because you yourself are now Lieutenant Commander Marcus Graves, not Lieutenant Marcus Graves. And
he's
that makes
have like
a lot of other people also able to gain rank.
Except we had already promoted a lot of the people up to junior or lieutenant. So there are some people who won't be able to get promoted. I think like Quentin's one of them. But like it's like they're lieutenant senior grade.
Yeah, essentially they're command
nudge and a wink.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
these are the command staff of the ship, kind of.
They
thing.
get fancy replicator rations. So yeah, Marcus is just sort of like, this is
fancy.
the we get to access the parts of the replicator that our more junior officers don't know exist.
That's awesome.
Quick. So Marcus is just sort of conveying all this information. Setsa's listening attentively. Just sort of balancing between helping out as much as she can between the various people around. And just sort of finishes up and says, yeah, things are going to look a little bit different, but I did manage to get us out of suggestion that we go for the Europa refit on the Reliant. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, things are going to be a little bit different around the ship when we get back to it.
Kara at this
There'll
point
be
is
different faces.
building a little, teepee of sticks for the fire. She pulls out her Ibby phaser pistol and very carefully aims, since she's using her non-dominant hand, and uses the phaser to start a fire. Sounds good, sir.
Nice.
At that point, Sets is also just cautiously inching away from the fire just to be sure that nothing's going to happen, while at the same time just giving like no indication and facial expression that something's she's a little worried.
Kara looks over at Setsa. Hit fire. Cook food. Food good.
Food is good. What we have for food? I have cookies.
I brought along some Friscar and Stasis. Oh, and I think I might have packed a unit.
Setsa's eyes just grow hungry at that point, but again, she's just trying to maintain the good camper affect. So she just gives a very polite nod of just like, my buttons are being pushed right now, and I'm just going to keep going along with it. But again, I'm going to be completely normal here. Marcus kind of points a finger back to his backpack, and he's like, yeah, I've got the marshmallow makers, graham crackers, chocolate, easy s'more stuff. Recommendation from Ross that we try to go for traditional camp out to get in the mood. Also, hot dogs and stasis, bread, peanut butter and jelly, that type of stuff. So pretty easily stocked for the essentials. We can also, of course, beam in stuff if we really get desperate from restaurants. I know a few places would just basically do that as takeout.
So, Rick, what'd you bring?
Rick pulls out this sort of like large metal plate, puts it on stands, and has like sets up an actual like grill that can be placed over the cooking. He's sort of just been sort of squatting down by the fire, just keeping an eye on it and getting that set up before pulling out sort of a mix of stuff. There's some kind of meat, some kind of vegetables that he can that is clear. I've bought some product from my homeworld of Saw that we can cook if we actually need some proper sustenance rather than, I believe, snack food. That's the term, right?
See, I was just going to put stuff on a stick and put it over the fire, and he's over here being all civilized.
I believe there are some foods that are traditional stick-based. I'm not quite sure what they are.
I'm pretty sure that
Marcus
meat on a
is just
stick is kind of the big thing for camping.
Marcus is looking at his hot dog thinking, I used to have this, like, a lot of the, weekly at the academy for lunch. This is just snack food? Why didn't anyone tell me?
Kara looks over at him.
Why didn't anybody... Wait. This is just snack food? And the camera pans up into the stars, and we see what color? What color Risian Corvette flies across?
It's gonna be red with with some blue accents and like purple lining too.
Oh, that's really awesome. That sounds very cool. So there's this very cool looking red racing ship just like scoots across the screen. Do you have the name painted on the hull?
No.
No, so it's just the Risian Corvette that comes flying past the camera, and the race doesn't require that you decal your ship with a number, but you can decal your ship with a number if you want to. This is a Milky Way, or rather, this is a Sol system. It's going to be a somewhat fast race that takes you through the Sol system, through like a couple of you have to hit some like flag marks essentially along the way, because if you miss them, you'll get your time will be penalized. So there are multiple ways to hit these marks along the path, but you have to get all the way through the Sol system, right out past all of the planets, and then there are multiple markers through there that you have to hit, and then it is a wide open shot out to the planet Vulcan and circling around Vulcan's orbit. You don't have to go into the Vulcan system, but you do need to circle that system and shoot back to the Sol system. So it's a decent race that contains both the need for fine control of your ship to be hitting all of those markers in the first part of the race, and then for your ship to be really fast and be the one that shoots out to Vulcan and back around. So this is what you are lined up for, Eli, and you're approaching the beginning of the race. A couple of other Corvettes floating in the sky out there as Oakley makes a beeping sound and slides forward onto the bridge with you. He does not yet have his security. You haven't been promoted and reprogrammed yet, Oakley. So you don't yet have your security colors painted on. You still look like the Oakley that we all know. Yes, I like what you just put in chat, Oakley. Should you hit a planet, that is a huge disqualification, and probably something you wouldn't survive. So this beginning really is just you making sure that your ship is ready to go. And you probably have a pretty decent group on your ship, and you have a very good chief engineer who has a 4 in engineering. So what you can do is you can make a roll for checkers. You can make a roll for checkers to see what kind of shape your engines are in going into this race, because he has been your mechanic for this time.
All right, what am I rolling?
Checkers scores. I don't have a sheet for checkers.
It's in there, and it's in the drive.
Is it under R? Randolph P. Checkers. I got him. There he is. You will be rolling reason engineering check. So 8 plus 4 is 12. He has a focus in nothing that helps. He has a focus in nothing that helps here. So he has a 12. You may roll a dice with a 12. Eli is doomed. I love it. That's funny.
Yeah, as soon as you said reason, I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, see, reason is for how the ship is set up. It will be based on most likely insight when it comes to reacting to what is happening during the race. So he'll be great during the race. It's just you might have wanted Rick to be the one setting up your ship. One success. Your ship is in as good a shape as it ever has been. Basically, checkers didn't break anything for certain, and your ship is in pretty good shape. As you find your way, you've probably already had some hangout time at Earth Space Dock or one of the orbiting. I imagine that we see the Starfleet side of things, and we see that there is a big, essentially military base, Earth Space Dock, that floats up above Earth. I imagine at lower orbits, there are things like bars that you can go up to and watch the stars and watch ships as you hang out and drink. So you've basically had the time off Eli, to do that if you want to. And that's kind of like what life would have been like leading up to your, going to start the race, which is where we are picking up with you. So you're probably in a very relaxed, good mood. It's, as the picture in our game chat says, it is go time. The rules of the race have been made very clear to everyone. You can't do things like shoot your opponent's ships and try to make them like blow up. You can't. What other kind of rule?
No ramming speed.
No ramming speed. No
using the
transwarp
transwarp network.
I was going to say no transwarp. The warp is totally acceptable, especially when you exit the soul system, which you can't use warp. Basically, you've looked at the course. There is can't use quantum slipstream either. You've looked at the course, Eli. There's no way that you're going to be able to engage warp until you are out of this particular solar system, because the swings and turns that they want you to make going around planets at the speeds you'll be going in order to hit all of those markers, you have to stay at impulse speed. It's up to you how fast of an impulse. But regardless, it's all led up to this, and you are sitting there, and Oakley, you settle in right next to him, and you can also detect there are 12 other, you're like racer number 12 or 14. You count like a dozen or more other ships out there. One of them's a Corvette that isn't Risian in nature. There's an Orion in this. You can tell that. When you look over to your right, it's really, really distant. It's like far out on the, it's like all the way at the end of where the ships are lining up. You don't really recognize the class of ship that it is, but it's kind of circular and has like these front-facing pontoons. I'm just, in the background, there's the Millennium Falcon because I want there to.
Question: Can I look at the racer registration to see if the Orion Corvette is belonging to one of the ones that we know?
Oh, it's not.
Just paranoid in the back of my head.
It's not anyone that you know. It's a noted racer. Like that Corvette races in things like this all over the galaxy. That's not a criminal. That's a racing pilot. See the first light signal happen, and you know that you know that the third signal, that's the second one. You know that the third signal is when everyone is engaged their engines, and this race will begin in earnest. You're going to need to be using your shielding, because the first part of the race takes you and you engage your engines, and you may now make your first piloting check as your ship, along with these other like 12 or 13, it's 12, I'm going to say, ships, shoot out away from this area that they've lined up on the other side of Earth orbit from Earth space dock. They're far away, and you guys shoot out of the orbit of Earth and start heading toward. You have to cut around Venus and back around Mercury before you get a small bit of the ability to stay in a straight line and come from Mercury back up past Earth before you have to start making basically a zigzag through the planets. So you can make your first piloting. Oakley can assist. However that works, I thought as how assisting works.
Oakley just gets to roll one additional dice.
Awesome.
Into his stats.
Cool. So there you go, Eli. Your race has begun, and the Corvette is a fast little ship. People are moving fast.
Alright, so I'm rolling pilot or con and what?
Pilot, and then you describe what happens as you zoom around Venus and Mercury, based on the successes,
Is this control
failures. Would this be daring or control?
Is it a dangerous situation?
Is it a what situation?
Dangerous situation.
No.
Then control.
Okay.
Oh, I thought I only had a 1 in con. Apparently I have a 2.
I was about to say, Eli's piloting. It's a dangerous situation.
13. You have a 13. There's nothing wrong with that. And Oakley can roll a die as well, which is the same control and what was it, Baz?
Con.
Con and control. Yeah. Don't have the stats for Oakley in front of me because I have Eli's character sheet up. So 2 successes. We get to see, and you get to describe it, but 3 successes. You have a. You can describe yourself by however you want to think about the fact that you got 3 successes for shooting around Venus, cutting back around Mercury, and then back to the real start of the race at Earth. With 3 successes, you are. What do I want to say? With 3, I'm going to roll actual dice on my desk. With 3 successes, you are in first place. Second place is the Risian Corvette that is really close behind you. You're both shooting through impulse space. So, however you want to describe what happens on board the bridge of your ship while all that happens, man.
As the third beep starts, signifying the start of the race, Eli punches it, going forward. Oakley contributing to the calculations necessary, and we pull ahead and cut in front of the Orion Corvette to slow them down a second as we continued shooting forward, turning, doing barrel rolls, just flourishing, showing off a bit as we navigate the planet.
I'll let you have the flourish because you got 3 successes, not 2. I love it.
And then, yeah, just do that stuff as we're coming back around with the Orion hot on our tail.
I love it. As you shoot back past Earth, the Orion tries to use gravity well of Earth. Oh no! I just rolled 2 comp the Orion.
As we pan down, following the Orion.
The Orion tries to use the gravity well of Earth to get, like, a boost. And he misjudges how he gets the gravity well, and it sends his ship into a spin out into space between Earth and Mars. And he's doing that, like, 360-degree spin, like the front, and know what I'm talking about. We've all played in games.
Yeah.
So his ship is spinning, and you have secured first place. And the camera pans back down because you're passing by Earth, and we are back in Yosemite.
So as Whately,
if you're watching it on or listening to it, the broadcasters are definitely talking about the fact that the Orion seems to have misjudged the gravity well and is spinning out, probably out of the race as they report that that the ship that was in third, which is known as the Rings of Orion. It's called the Rings of Orion, even though it's not an Orion ship. It's a human pilot. That's all. It's now taken seconds, but we are back down to what is happening on.
if you want to make a Formula One joke, the team in last place is Haas.
It's Haas. See, I don't know Formula
It's
One
Haas.
at all. So.
No, yeah, just totally make that joke though. It'll be. So as it's panning down though, because Whately wasn't part of the crew, Whately is going to be walking up the path towards the camp right now.
Cool. Whately, have you ever been out in the wilderness like?
Oh yes.
Okay, then it's nothing is surprising to you really at all. It is a very nice, well-kept
Lately's probably coming back with a nice collection of firewood that he went to go look for, because, you don't just have one person collecting firewood. And he comes in and just kind of looks around, sets his little cadre of lumber down with the rest of the pile, and just kind of looks around and go, did I miss something?
We were discussing food.
Well, that Eli's doing really well right now. Second place just dropped out.
Sir, wasn't the point of this little holiday to get away from communication with the outside world?
Yeah.
He quirks an eyebrow and
guess.
says, there's a river you can throw your communicator there. I hear they're waterproof.
I did receive this communicator as a gift, and he just sort of sets it aside and turns it off, and just sort of has that little bit of like, I want to find out how Eli's doing, but at the same time, so he says though, I mean, at the very least we can make use of the river. I mean, the flow's pretty slow right here. So, anyone fancy a swim?
No.
Don't have anybody there, so I'm just listening to you guys having a great time.
Yeah, so
my reaction and Waitley's reaction is in the chat.
All right, just like a thumbs up.
Remember that when we did the Risa episode, it was like, what does Waitley look like, on the beach of Risa?
Oh god,
he brought the gear with him.
All right, so yeah, Marcus sort of hops into his tent, gets some swimming trunks on. Setsa, though, hadn't thought in this particular direction, so she's just going to be on the bank, just dipping her toes in the water a little bit. And Marcus just sort of looks to Kara and says, fancy go down?
No, thanks. The scar tissue's ugly enough on its own. I'll wait until something can be done.
Gotcha. Rick?
Why not? I will join you in a moment.
So, Setsa's going to be staying with Kara, and the three boys are going down to the Alpine River to have a dip. So it's sort of it's kind of like a large, almost lagoon section here. So there's a bunch of rocks at the above the flow. Down below there's a bunch of rocks, nothing that's dangerous, but basically easy enough that, hey, if they drift down that far, they've got enough substrate to basically pull themselves out before there's any issue. It's not even that deep in that section, but where they've got is basically almost a little pool and a nice shallow or sloping gravel bank leading into it. So Marcus is just going to be like, hey, I got to get into this. I'm going to relax, just be here, enjoy the environment. And he's just going to take a running jump and basically cannonball into this Alpine River. So does anyone join him in that?
Rick,
Sweet. I like it.
Rick isn't going to cannonball. I mean, he gets changed a bit first into what amounts to shorts, slightly larger with a bit of a sort of bump at the back, just sort of above where it's more like a nub where the tail would be. He just sort of like dives in after he gets like up to into the water.
Yep. So, given where they are, the water is just going to be not above or just above freezing, but it's going to be about 40 degrees. So Marcus doing a cannonball was a really dumb idea. So what would he need to roll to basically not like immediately stand up and scream?
Would be a fitness.
Something I was going to say, something to do with fitness.
Yeah.
That's not going to be good for Marcus.
I might go command.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, that
that
works.
does actually make sense.
Oh, that makes him a 12. He is able to contain his just immediate shock and feeling of just pain, and then his like body sort of tensing up. And he just stands up and it's just like he's just like twitching. It's like, God, that's not great. This is cold.
There is laughter from
Doesn't
80
get, like,
girls up the
completely
hill.
out.
So you can tell that Rick is just sort of slowly getting in there, getting to a point where like his feet are used to it, and then just sort of fully diving into it, just so that, I mean, there's a point where you sort of just have to go for it. And Rick's going to do the same role.
While Rick is getting in, Marcus shouts back up to Kara and Setsa, "Pain is good! Pain is relaxing! This was intentional!"
I mean, okay.
Was intentional.
Okay, 2 successes. So Rick actually seems like he sort of winces a bit, but is generally rather takes it very well. And sort of dives under the water again, doing a bit of a splash, accidentally getting a bit onto to Graves there.
So what about Noor?
Oh, Waitley immediately. He did not come down in his uniform. He came down in what he likes to call Beta Z chic casual, which was, long, dark, flowing robe kind of thing. And as soon as swimming came up, he was just like, doff it all. He's wearing the rolled up sleeve shirt and the the surfboard trunks, and he just dove right in, and he's having himself a nice old time.
Yeah, Marcus at this point is sort of, he's just floating on his back, just sort of acclimating to the cold temperature, and just says, yeah, this is actually kind of relaxing. And he just starts drifting and drifting, just enjoying the mountain spring, the sound of the wildlife, sound of occasionally giggling from the Ibby.
Well, while Graves is inactive, Rick is sort of a bit overactive. He's sort of just swimming around, pops up behind Graves a bit, goes over to where Waitley is, sort of dives onto the ground, picks up some of the mud, pops back up, and takes a brief look through. Starts doing some laps.
Ooh.
So, as Marcus is sitting there, he's kind of almost going into sensory deprivation state. Like, as there's just sort of this natural flow and rhythm and things just settle down. He is startled by his brain conjuring the sound of an explosion on the bridge, and he stands bolt upright at that point and just sort of looks around and just realizes that was him.
I got nothing. Kara was going to do some mischief, but Graves has done it to himself.
Oh, no, she could... Yeah, so he... Dang.
Oh,
okay.
my gosh, my mic is still on. I didn't mean to laugh that loudly. I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
Laughter is good.
Laughter
it's better
is
than
very
just
good.
dead silence. Yeah,
Laughter is very good. The fact that we're making each other laugh is a brilliant thing.
Yeah. So Setsa at this point, though, puts a hand on Kara's shoulder and
You haven't been feeling great. I can, see that. But if there's anything you want to talk about, your bunk buddy's here.
Yeah, not really. Happy to hear about that letter you got, though. I mean, that's good for you.
Yeah. I mean, he apparently knew, because I sent him a letter when, I went off to Vegas and did those, recording the event of your death type things. But, yeah, it's good to get some things in the open. I mean, we haven't really done that much, because he's been so busy, and he's been playing those really long shifts to get Reliant back home. So, yeah, hopefully, though. But, yeah, just right now, I'm just a little more concerned about you, and just how you're holding up.
Kara shrugs, which is awkward with one shoulder, and kind of puts her right arm over, her chest and says, I'll be fine. Eli's working on something, so things will be fine. I'm totally fine. Yep.
That doesn't sound fine, but I'm here. Just sit and watch Captain Dingbat.
Curse your female intuition.
At this point, Marcus just sort of settles back down and just a little bit more warily, but just sort of goes back and okay, gonna lay down again, and that's not gonna happen again. Sort of goes back into that same tranquil state.
Hey, Setsa, think we can hit him with a rock from here?
That might injure him from this height.
Oh, come on, it's just real life battleship.
Pine cone.
That works.
Pine cone?
Pine cone. All of a sudden, there comes a barrage of pine cones on Marcus Graves as the two Ibby girls shout letters and numbers. C4, B7.
Marcus dives at this point, and Setsa calls out,
"We've got a submarine!"
He's got to surface for air sometime.
Switches targets. Setsa,
I'm gonna go for their dreadnought and
throws a pine cone over at Whately. And
He-
I'm going to make this a roll. So, I'd say it's daring security to throw a pine cone into the general vicinity of someone.
Technically, it's control. Anything?
Ooh. 2 successes.
Wait, hold on. How did that work? I got two results from that.
Magil's having a
Just
day.
go with the first one. We'll just go with the first one.
Yeah. She gently hits Whately on the shoulder with a pine cone.
Whately stops, turns completely still, and just slowly turns to look at her with that look of all impending doom that he gets. And he just stares at her for a second and waits for her reaction.
She just smiles and waves.
He scowls, narrows his eyes, and says, "To play at that game." And he does that thing where you slap your hand on the water and make a big wave and hits her right in the face.
And she is completely...
Why are you so mean, man?
She is completely soaked by freezing cold water at this point. Just has that gasp, but also just breaks out giggling at the same time as well, and just sort of falls backwards. Marcus breaks out laughing at this point as well.
Kara chuckles and goes and gets a towel. Of all the days to wear a white shirt, Jibby.
Setsa shrugs and just jumps into the lagoon at this point.
All right, but I ain't going in after you.
Marcus
Scoot back up in a moment. We're going to scoot back up to the ship above the planet.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
a good
so
point, unless Rick has something.
Yes, there is something quickly. I want to do 2 rolls very quickly.
Awesome.
It's 15. So you see under the water, you can see Rick just sort of trying to... You see him dive under the water, and for a moment you think you've lost him, but you can actually... He's a bit too close to the surface of the water, and there's this like little bit of a wave that sort of gives out where he is. And suddenly bursting up out from the water, he has holding a pine cone and throws it back at Kara, landing sort of directly directly in the middle of the body. This sort of sudden pine cone.
It's kind of awesome.
Kara falls over dramatically.
Sudden pine
Ugh! Oh, death! Blood, 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 death! Oh, agony! Oh, my life! Ugh! And then goes very still.
Marcus, at this point, just says, "God damn it, I've got to write this down in a report. And what commanding officer would believe me when I say that my con officer has been killed by a pine cone? Seriously, this is not a good day, in the sense, and not because Kara just died."
Kara's hand shoots up. A pine cone thrown by your chief engineer. Okay, back to dead.
And the camera pans up to space as you need to make another piloting check, Eli, at some point during this round of and during the descriptions that you have, as now you get to the essentially the first portion of the real race, where you have to cut back and forth between planets, and some ships are going one way around the planet, some are going the other, so you're like figure eighting around the planets in this solar system. As soon as you get past Earth, that starts with Mars. You start going back and forth, and the ships are, as I say, figure eighting until you get to the edge of the solar system, and then you can, open up your warp engines and see what you can do. But you do need to make, as I said, another piloting check before you get to the how can I do before you get to the how can I make my ship's incredible speed be of bonus to me.
Alright, so that's a 13 again?
Yep.
Alright.
And again, you'll get to describe how you cut through the solar system with 1 success. I'm gonna roll a couple. I'm gonna make the roll a couple of times. based on the fact that you have like 11 people left, and they're going to have an average of 12. Actually, I'm going to give them an average of give them an average of a 13. That says that some of them are better than you and some of them are worse than you. But on the average, you're about as good a pilot as most of these people. So most of them are holding, they're kind of holding just about the same area in the race that they had to begin with. The person in third place, we'll have to say who it is, but the person in third place suddenly takes. So I made 3 rolls. The first one that got, the first one that got 1 success. Did I make 4 rolls somehow?
No, wait. Oakley made one because he's assisting me. Remember?
Okay. So then
So
you
that's
have
2
2 successes, right? So the first one is saying that the general, like the pack of racers that are in the back, they all pretty much hold position, and they're they're speeding along. They don't nothing terrible happens, nothing great happens. The person in third place gets 2 successes just like you and completely overtakes the person in second place. Their onboard computer, I'm going to give them, they have an Oakley-like thing. They have an onboard computer that gives them no successes. So they just have taken second place, and who was in third, no longer the Orion, who is still spinning out between Mars and Earth somewhere. But you managed to maintain your lead as you're approaching the end of the solar system. What do you want to do? But you do have a lead, and the person now that is behind you, Oakley, you can scan them pretty quickly. It is what race that you guys can think of in Star Trek has incredibly fast reaction? Something like White Wolf Games celerity that vampires would get. What Star Trek race is like really, really quick and like good with their hand dexterity? Does anybody have one in mind?
They don't really have a good one in mind. Arcation, maybe? Or
Yeah, I like it. I like the idea that the person who just took second place and who is now behind you is actually a really really well-known racer. We have to just come up with a cool Cation name. He's like a well-known racer who he wins sometimes, but he's usually in the top 3. So he gets a lot of sponsorships and that kind of thing. His particular spaceship, whatever he's flying, is decorated. Like, he has like a decoration that has like, quarks, like one like quarks something, he's an F1. He's a racing, that's what he does for a living, and it's obvious that he has sponsorships, and so it's possible to get sponsorships as you race. But regardless, you are in first place, and now this Cation, who we haven't named, but we will, is in second place. And Oakley, you can scan that he has an onboard computer that probably will give him as much of a benefit as your. So what do the two of you want to do?
We're gonna follow the course. I'm not sure what special thing to do.
You're reaching the point where you will be going to warp. So it's kind of. It's like going to warp. Your ship is in approximately the same kind of shape as anybody else, and it's no longer going to be. I got Eli here. Awesome. It's no longer going to be control con, because you're not scooting back and forth between planets. At this point, it comes down to the fact that your engines, he got 1 success, so your ship is in, pretty good shape. Is your ship faster, is the question, than probably the two. We'll make rolls for the two people that are behind you. Is your ship in? Ooh, one of them is in better shape than your. That's the person in second place, and both the person in second and third place, their ships have. So this is your first race, right? Like your first real race, and you are certain that their ships have been modified, and Oakley, you can detect that it's within the rules. They're basically souped up engines, like their ships have been modified to really cut open, and they are starting to gain, both of them, on you, although their two positions are maintaining. It is the Cation in second place and the human in third, and they're catching up to you. What do you want to do?
Can I open my comm down to my engineers? See, give
Yes.
me all I got.
You can be like, Checkers, they're catching us, Checkers. You've got to do something. Whatever Checkers can do here, because he is your NPC, much in the way that Setsa and Tardigrade are Duncan's NPCs. So what would you say to Checkers to get him to, break out, kick out the jams? Checkers, what's going on? What would you say
Checkers,
to him?
we need more go juice. We need to go faster.
Okay. All right. Checkers has no longer has to roll reason and engineering. At this point, Checkers has two options. He can either do something dangerous, or he can not be dangerous and try. Basically, he can try to make the ship go better. Essentially, he can work his engineering magic, and he can make this ship go a lot faster potentially. Now, there are two ways to do that. There's a non-dangerous way, which would involve him rolling his control and
That's
in
even
this
worse.
case.
No, thank you.
It's even worse than reason, yes, but that's the non-dangerous way. There is a dangerous way to do it, where he uses his daring and engineering to try to do something, and you have, I don't know if there's a way to do it, maybe Baz can tell us, but because of one of his values, if he goes the dangerous route, there's a value that almost certainly would be able to be applied, and that is enough is never enough, more is always. The magic button is glowing. So therefore, we pick back up with Eli realizing that we pick back up Eli realizing that the two ships right behind him are making up the distance that they lost in the tight course through the Sol system, and instead they now have managed to really start bringing their engines online. And you call down to Checkers and you tell him, I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was funny.
More go juice.
I mean, more go juice. And Checkers then had to decide: is he going to be safe, or is he going to be? Is he going to be safe?
He is going to be crazy.
He can make a daring engineering check, which is a 15. Is there anything he can do with the value of enough is never enough, more is always better, Baz?
Yeah, so he can get a free crit, or he can re-roll anything.
Which would you prefer?
I'm thinking an automatic crit.
All right, you have 2 successes before Checkers rolls, and remember he has a 50.
What's going to be the difficulty for this, by the way?
You're going to need to succeed on the crazy thing. You need 4 successes.
Okay,
however, if you succeed, those successes are going to be. If you succeed, those successes are going to be absolutely, critical and amazing kind of thing. But if you fail, or if you get a complication, that's something to consider. If you use your value free critical, you won't have it to re-roll a dice if Checkers happens to roll a complication.
understand that, but I was trying to bring something up. I also have a talent.
Chiz?
I have jury rig.
Checkers has the talent jury? Yes?
Yeah, he has that, and it says when performing an engineering test, perform repairs. I'm guessing that's sort of what this is in a way.
This can probably count. Imagine
it reduces
what is...
the difficulty of the check by 2 to a minimum of 0.
Then you have a difficulty of 2. And
I already have 2 successes.
You will already have 2 successes. So essentially, Checkers needs to... Essentially, his idea amounts to pouring whiskey in the warp core. In some sort of way, his idea amounts to, I'm going to pour whiskey in the warp core and it will make the ship go faster. So you describe how does your ships, what happens? It's all you, your description.
Hold on a sec, I'm still rolling though, because I want to go
you might get even more.
Overkill that's...
Oh no.
Oh, that's okay. But Theta can roll one.
Yes.
Oh, there's a complication there.
Do we have any momentum?
Oh, that's a no. No, there's a complication there. 2 successes and a complication. So
come on, Oakley. You can do
make
it.
That roll, Oakley. Is there something you can...
Please, Oakley.
Let's see, is there something that Oakley can do? Is his character sheet available to me? 1 success. So the ship has 3 successes and 1 complication. Whatever Checkers does down in the engine room, Eli, you get a burst of speed that you just can't believe. You go from like warp 5 to warp 7 or some nonsense. Like you shoot way beyond what you expected him to be able to do, and you are suddenly going very, very fast. Leave the other 2 ships behind, and you notice, since you are, now a professional race pilot, your ship is starting to redline. Your engines can't take it. Your engines can't take it. This is the Checkers probably would realize this too. He's given her all she's got. You're giving him all she's got, Captain. I don't think she can take the strain. If you don't slow down on your way back, you will burn out your engines and have to purchase a brand new warp core impulse drive, the whole thing. But because of what Checkers did in those 3 successes, you would indeed, as Kara posted in the chat, pro, you win the race. Con, your ship is busted. If you don't slow down as you come around Vulcan, you are going to break your ship as you win the...
Okay.
What do you want to do? If you opt for not breaking your ship, there is a chance that the other racers in 1st and 2nd place might overtake you and win the race. Choose the safer option.
We're going to have some time, and Checkers could always just try something else while they're catching up if we go under.
All right, you make the swing around Vulcan and you slow your ship down so as to not explode. Good choice, by the way. I was going to make them ridiculously expensive if you're not like getting a Starfleet ship that already has all these things in it. I was going to be like, yeah, that's going to cost. So good choice. You slow down as you come around Vulcan, and we pick back up at the campsite.
At the campsite, the group has currently gathered around a roaring campfire by now. Unfortunately... Oh, no, there he is. I thought you had left the room.
No, I'm still here. I just have my mic muted. So yeah, Marcus is just hanging around the campfire as well. Setsa is in one of the tents getting changed and having a little bit of trouble from the noises and the rocking of the tent of just trying to get everything together in such a confined space. While Marcus has a banjo on his leg and is just looking at Kara with I could play this. Neither of us are going to like it, but I could do it.
Need I remind you, I brought a phaser.
He sets down the banjo and takes out his marshmallow maker.
Thank you.
Starts making a little... Marcus nods. And as his marshmallow maker is a stick ready, and various treats on his side, he just says, "Want to have the first one?"
Nah, I've got something else in mind. Kara has actually wrapped the unip she brought, which is a type of ibi root vegetable, and some, basic leaves and things, and has kind of set it near the fire to slow roast, and she's slowly been turning it this way and that.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, haven't done one of those in a while. Sets and I did try something like that at the Academy of one of our hot plates in the chemistry lab, but that didn't go so well. And the marshmallow just kind of...
You have a talent, sir, for the right thing at the wrong time.
Yeah, well, same time I did take command of Reliant at a pretty good time. I mean, relatively speaking. We're all here, and that's a lot more I expected out of her first year.
Rick, Waitley, does anybody want to try some of the unip?
Sure.
You just hear from like the tent, like, some for me too, from Setsa.
One thing that just because, as a storyteller and a game master, I can be a dick. One thing that does cross your mind when you say we're all here, and that's more than I expected, that come to the end of our first year, you realize you've already had to sign both from some of the damage taken at Karat and the damage taken in the Battle of Lampada. You've lost a very small amount, but a couple of crew members have died under your watch, and that may be the hardest. That may be the hardest thing you've had to do as a captain. You didn't even really know them. They were junior officers who were working damage control or something like that. And so there are a couple. That's not a lot. It's like really, really good, actually, in terms of the engagements that you've had, that it would be expected larger casualties. But you have had to sign, like, these people died. And that's part of being a captain.
Marcus would have been decimated by that too. So amend that comment, because I didn't think we'd lost anyone yet. So
it's a very small number. It's like two people. It's like two people who were actually we can say both of them were working damage control during the Battle of Lampada after you guys took the damage that you did, and they were they died in the line of duty. But again, it's really like an incredible it's a hard way to think about it, but command isn't upset about it in such a way as the organization being upset about it. It's acceptable percentages to people who didn't even ever see those officers' faces, but to the captain, it certainly probably affects you.
And he's also going to be running the calculation. He'll be able to justify it too, because it was to protect the one of the other ships too. So he can put it in the sense like another captain didn't have to do even more, considering the losses they went through already. So he's got that conflict, and just to amend that statement, he'll have said most of us have gotten through. So he'll be even more cautious about that assessment. It's more than I really expected out of this.
Nice. I just wanted to point it out that it makes sense that in a battle like what happened at Lampada, that at least a couple of officers may have been, very badly wounded, and a couple dead. It very easily could have happened.
Yeah. So he's very morose at this time. Setsa comes out, puts takes a seat next to him, kind of tentatively puts her arm around him, just sort of not quite being comfortable with that level of expression, considering where he was at the academy, really kind of pushing a lot of people away. So she just kind of sits there, kind of uncomfortable herself in that situation, and others will definitely be able to pick up on that.
Right on.
I need to see if Rick does, because he's really bad at actually.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that answer.
So it's,
He's going to suggest the row.
Rick will be like, "We should sing a song," and then that's where we get row your boat.
No, Rick has another idea. But okay, yeah, he does pick up on that.
What about our counselor?
Yeah, what about Waitley? Does he pick up on that?
On the row your boat?
No, on the fact that the captain, the fact that the captain, when he thinks about, he can justify it, but there's still a little bit of a, morose, feeling coming off of him when he realizes that, yeah, a couple of people did die, in the big battle that we were in, and that, I was their captain, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you would, you're Waitley, for goodness sakes. How would you not pick up on that? So, anyway.
Obviously, he picks up on it. He makes a mental note to bring it up in their next counseling session.
So we are coming toward the last 20 minutes or so of the episode. So character things that you guys want to include here in your camping trip. Now is a very good time to get them started before the last scene.
So Rick will first of all talk about just something that we all have to face, the dangers of our job. We all expected to face danger. The officers that died were mine. I knew them quite well, and I will definitely miss. They did their duty in the highest praise that I could.
I'm sorry, Rick. Yeah, they did some great work, and a lot of people were saved that day from what we're able to accomplish. But, yeah, hopefully next time will be better. Next time we won't have to get into a situation like that. Well, if we have a little bit more control over it. And he sort of gets a little prickly at that, and then just says, I guess it's time to reflect on the people we've known. And it's sort of like, as Rick was also talking about the dangers of what they signed up for, Setsa's also going to like brush a strand, like in the sort of the campfire light, brush a strand of hair and sort of like away from one of her visible implants on her face.
I like that. That's a great scene right there. We pick back up in space from the firelight lighting Setsa's face. We do one of those kind. It's not a jump cut. I don't remember what it's called, but we're very quickly back on the bridge of the Scion of Prospero, coming back around. Dissolve. Thank you, Oakley. Coming back around the planet Vulcan, you slow your ship down, and I'm going to say, I don't know quite what Checker sounds like, but I'm going to say that Checker,
rough voice that's like smooth whiskey.
He probably would say something in my mind along the lines of, "Didn't you just ask me for more power?" And that because you know that you just you just throttled your ship back down. And he's like, "Didn't you just ask for more power?" kind of thing, because he's down there trying to get the ship to give even more than it can. But yeah, he's got your engines firing very.
Just a note, as Checkers is a veteran, he gets there's a talent that he might be able to get his determination back.
Oh, neat. You roll one die. What does that mean?
So it's a 1d6. And
is not a rank of at least lieutenant commander.
Checkers is.
I mean, he's retired.
He's retired. He is the equivalent of a lieutenant now because he's retired. I mean, that's his position is really like cushy, right? I'd love to be Checkers if I were Checkers.
He fought in the Dominion War when things were more lax.
That means he's like 70 plus years old, right?
Something like that.
I figured that out recently. I figured it out recently with the crew that I made up for Star Trek Online.
Stowe is about 40 years after DS9, so depending on.
It's probably in the neighborhood of like 60s and 70s at point. That'd be my guess.
Or 50 in the
future.
Yeah.
It's still not like old.
He also lost his arm, so he does have a prosthetic arm. But so
Old
I rolled
age and treachery will win every time. I remember that was Kara posted that on my picture of that crew. Old age and treachery. You never had a chance, kid. Old age and treachery will win out every time. So he's asking why you're throttling power back, and he's basically telling, like, he's wondering. And as soon as you start to throttle power back, the other two start to throttle up, and the Cation and the human, I have to make once again, I'll make a roll for the Cation, and I'll make a roll for the human. Cation is first.
For Checker's veteran thing.
Cation is first, and he's awesome. He gets 2 successes, piloting, and then, Cat, you got right in the face. And then he gets his computer, which gives no successes. The human currently in 3rd place is 1 success. So,
and 1 complication.
One complication. Ooh, and he gets that complication going around a gravity well like the human who was in 3rd place became 2nd place after the Orion spun out and then dropped to 3rd when the Cation caught up. He spins out in the gravity well, but not so bad. No, his complication is he spins out in the gravity well, and he's probably going to be overtaken and not place a named or he's not going to hit a prize position which is only top. He won't get prize position because of the complication occurring when it did. And the Cation is catching up to you, and you are getting a hail.
Oakley, answer that hail.
Oakley is the first one to notice you're getting a hail from the Oakley response here in a second. I like that picture, Duncan.
Answer that hail.
You attention grabbing beeping, and you answer the hail, Oakley. And there is the universal translator translates this deep kind of growly voice almost that says, they've never been able to detect non-energy devices. And something fires out of the front of his ship. It is like a grappling wire of some kind.
Can I
with
can
a
I do
hook
something?
on the end. You may make a piloting check to try to avoid being caught by my callback to Star Trek Enterprise. He is shooting a grappler.
Can I just respond to him wittily as I'm making this check?
Yes, absolutely. He's like, they've never figured out how to track non-energy weapons. And then he fires the grappler.
But they sure as hell can review these comms, asshole! And
They sure as hell can review these comms, asshole!
I'm recording!
It's up to you to try to avoid it. If you
This is daring?
This is what is that kind of piloting check, Baz? Daring?
Yeah, daring con.
Right on. It is daring con. So 13 for you, I believe.
Yep, and Oakley, get ready to help me.
Oakley, I need your help. Did you get 1 success?
And Oakley didn't help, so it's a total of 1.
Here comes Oakley.
Also, I thought Oakley would have more than a 10, because, he at least was piloting with a Kara and all that.
Well, comes Oakley's roll. 1 success. Would either of you like to spend a, I missed Oakley's roll. Would either of you like to spend a, what do they call those wonderful things? A value. And use your determination to get a reroll here.
O'Connor has his determination.
Yep.
Oakley, what are your values?
I think Oakley might have one that applies. Oakley to the rescue yet again. I don't have Oakley's character sheet, so I'm totally guessing.
Oakley has a character sheet. That's why he's doing D10s.
let's give Oakley a value of because you're becoming sentient and you have had you've had the crew of the Reliant around you. You could have something that makes you like loyal or like especially inclined to help them. I don't know what might work there. Never give up, never surrender. That's kind of an Oakley thing.
There's that.
You know
one
what? Let's just say, Oakley, that you have a value that works. Because Oakley is mysterious, like Wolverine was in the comic books for so long, and you may re-roll your die, Oakley.
Wait, if we use determination, can't we just get an automatic crit too and just not risk it?
You could have done that beforehand, but afterward you can only do the reroll.
Afterward, it's a reroll. Yeah. You know what? It's totally fine. You roll 1d20 and the same as you rolled before, so it's 1d20. But let's give it a 12 instead of a 10. You're assisting here. Oof. Oh, no successes. And
wait, can I do something?
Of course you can.
Okay, I'm gonna try a thing. Give me a moment.
Have a determination. I don't know what might work though. Never be cruel, never be cowardly. Maybe.
Or I'm thinking the bottom one because I have a plan.
Endure hardship so others don't have to. Okay, what's your plan?
I'm thinking of like whatever plating that it attaches to. Detach that plating.
Oh, I love it. But that doesn't require a determination to re-roll. What happens is he says, your response is, but they can track these, but they can review these comm logs, asshole. I'm recording. And the grappler see it do that whole squiggly metal line thing as the grappler boom, grips a hold of the back of your ship, and he begins to use slingshot forward, and as he does, you release the you release that area of the plating. You are specifically giving yourself hull damage in order to cut him loose of you. And when you do, the grappler lets go and you spring forward, and on your comm you hear Checkers say, "Why are we not using all the power I'm giving you, Eli?"
We're using it again. I'm shifting back the power.
You shift back, but because you shift it down in the middle, you don't break your ship, as the Scion of Prospero is the first one to fly back into the solar system and come streaming past all the planets. The flags that you have to fly through are all on the same sides of the planet here, and it's so it's just like this straight line back down to the finish as you come out of warp and your impulse engine firing. You are all indicators are that your engines are about to blow up, and you hit the you shut things down at exactly the right moment. You made a good maneuver to avoid your complication, essentially, and I was okay with making your ship not blow up at the end, which is probably good for you. As the Scion of Prospero sails across the finish line, you are the winner of the the 17th annual or whatever, the 37th annual, the 47th annual Soul Class. Now, it had to be 47 since it's tracked.
I want to submit my comm logs. I want this guy banned.
You check your comm logs, and as you're that you're planning to submit them, but you're checking them first, and you see the Cation celebrating his second place win, right? He's chilling with some of the other pilots, and you check your comm logs, and you see him just smile, and he's a big cheater. Because your comm logs. Her voice is fine. His voice is nothing but He just kind of waves his little paw at you, and he says, "I'll see you outside Alhana."
I look over to Oakley. Hey, were you recording with, your face?
Roll a luck roll, Oakley. Just roll a d20. The higher you get, the better. We'll ignore most of what Majel says. Raw result of 18. You started recording. Yeah, you have a recording of.
Let's submit that, my friend.
And now, with 1 minute left in the episode, you're submitting it. You get huge winning. You can have it be in Latinum or Galactic credits, whatever. But as you return to the Scion of Prospero after partying and enjoying your first place win, there is a message waiting for you from Starfleet Command. Because of the nature of the orders that are coming through, and they are going to both you and Oakley, you are ordered to report. There is a shuttle available, though they know that you are currently aboard your personal Risian vessel. They know they know that you just were in a race, basically, and they need you to report to your home starbase Epsilon 10 to an ensign who will be meeting you there, named Philip Cray, for a debriefing, and you have no idea what you're being. So this is an opportunity to take your ship out to Epsilon.
Well, it's going to need repairs first.
It's going to need a few repairs first, but you'll be able to take it out to Epsilon 10. You also could take the command staff if you want. You guys could get there on
luxury.
You guys could get there on the Risian Corvette, the Scion of Prospero. However, it is. I'm going to say that it is Setsa, because I think it's just kind of funny that it would be Setsa. She happens to be near the rock where, or stump or sleeping bag or wherever it is that Marcus put down his communicator when a whatever, alpha priority, this is an important call, the lights for that are up on his computer. He has received an important call.
Marcus!
And Graves eventually just sort of turns around. He was lost in thought for a little bit. She points to his backpack, which has the comm badge right next. He sees it, beeping. It's just ugh. He reaches over, gives it a tap, and says, Graves here.
It's a recorded, it's an information package. It's a recorded voice that says incoming information and orders package for senior staff USS Reliant. Essentially, this is you are all being ordered to the Reliant, when it relaunches, will be relaunching from Epsilon 10. The upgrades crew, the repair crew, essentially, will be bringing, yes, you get a big trophy too, Eli. But the repair crew, the upgrades crew, they'll be the ones bringing Reliant to Epsilon 10. But you are all being ordered to report to Epsilon 10 before Reliant arrives for briefing. And none of you have any idea what you're being debriefed for, but there is an ensign who is set to debrief you on Epsilon 10. He will be arriving there in the same number of days it'll take you to get there, etc., etc., etc. All of you need to report to Ensign Philip Cray.
Marcus, just the circumstances of this, how this is all happening, that they're not bringing it to ESD where they can just beam back up, that they're being debriefed by freaking Ensign, just sort of sets off his his not quite danger sense, but he is thinking that Starfleet's going to be pulling his when it comes to this assignment.
And
it's
make a
not
command roll. You might be able to figure out a little bit. If you make let me bring up the character sheet of Marcus Graves, and this would be a last piece of information. You would be able to make an insight command, which is 12. You might be able to figure out why they're doing it. 2 successes, man. Why are they doing that? It's because you're not the Enterprise.
And that's going to also kind of... It's also
you,
gonna.
you realize that it is entirely you are not the Enterprise. You're not the one that is going to make the news around Earth. You're the one who you are one of the ships in a fleet whose flagship is let me look up, I'm trying to remember what is the flagship of the Galileo. Like, have we ever seen a television show about the Galileo? Hell no. and
And Marcus is
fleet. So
and
you
Marcus
realize
is gonna
that that's
feel
what's happening.
okay. And Marcus putting all this together is just like, oh, not a whole big conundrum. This is just normal, and kind of feels bad, especially like when he received a notification from Starfleet that he was in the running to be considered for command of the Enterprise, but was rejected, and he had no idea until he got the rejection letter that was happening. So he just goes from melancholy just to crestfallen, and then he eats his, and then Setsa gives him a rub on the shoulder.
It gets all, maybe not all better.
Yeah.
By now, Kara has carefully sliced up the unit, which is a root vegetable from Ifar. Third of it goes to Setsa, third of it goes to herself, 1/6 goes to Rick, and 1/6 goes to Whately. Do have a care. It's a bit tart. I'm not sure it's to human or sore palates.
I will. This is pretty much, the end of the game. 9 o'clock my time is about when I like to end it. Because that's 11 o'clock for anybody on the East, and I figure that's late enough to play. You don't want to be playing much later than that. But one thing that we can tell Kendra, in chat or whatever, but the people who would definitely know, Eli would definitely know, and Captain Graves would definitely know that Ged turned down a promotion.
Ooh.
Ged was offered chief medical officer position aboard the USS Odyssey, and he said no and decided to stay on Reliant.
He likes us. He really likes us.
I will quickly add, we end the episode with Rick starting to tell the story. So a firelight story at night. Telling
Nice.
one
Why
of the
don't you tell it to us
many mythological stories of his people.
Let's hear it. Let's hear one of them. I like
As
that
if
idea.
I actually can know it, okay? But yeah.
So you're just saying that it happens.
Yes.
I see.
And at the end, Kara tries to applaud, and then gets very angry.
So,
as Kara tries to do
the sound of one hand clapping.
As
no.
Kara does the one hand clapping, Setsa just sort of scoots next to her and just sort of offers a hand for a high five type thing.
Thank you.
I like that.
Kara just leans against her.